Hi guys, Guy here from Gary Games, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more Dragon Age content. Let's get into the video. So the review embargo for Dragon Age the Veilguard is up, and our boys have been a wild ride so far, from high praises from the mainstream media to laughably bad for some big time gaming YouTubers. Now if you watched my last video about how BioWare is very specific about who got review codes for this game early, and boy, it sure seems like this comes into play with some big outdated media companies. First we have the biggest media legacy company there is, IGN, which has actually blocked me on Twitter/X. They gave the game a 9 out of 10. The reviewer for IGN is an individual named Lena Hayford, who, you guessed it, is a non-binary person. They go by she, they pronouns, and this person is actually a biological man. Now he, she, they, them, whatever the hell he wants to call himself, he praised the game for the inclusion of a certain character that also identifies as non-binary, because that's of course what people want in their medieval dark fantasy games. It seems like the reviewer is very biased with this review. When talking about the combat system, he described it as pretty good, but did say it could be cumbersome with a lot of stuff just flashing all over the screen. You're doing your, your spells, your special attack. It can be very cumbersome and you can't really see what's going on, he said sometimes. He also talked about how companions now just feel like an extension of your own character, are really only there to pop off special moves when you need them. He also talked about one of the highlights of the game were the boss battles or the dragon battles, which he says are very difficult and you need to prepare for them strategically, and you have to watch out for their certain attack patterns and learn how to dodge them. But if you watch the review and in the video when he's talking about this, he just uses like his sparkly jazz fingers just to shoot the dragon down real quick, and it runs up and just starts chopping away at it. The reviewer also praised the way the companions are treated in this game and said they take the loyalty missions from Mass Effect 2 and crank them up big time. He also said each loyalty mission in the game feels like a major triumph for your companion. They feel so fleshed out, he said, that they feel like they could be missions designed for your own protagonist and are filled with major character development. He summarized his review by saying that this game belongs in the RPG pantheon. He said it features enjoyable combat, a fantastic cast of allies, top-notch cinematics, and moving nuanced character writing. And oh god, a Eurogamer review, I'd never seen someone simp so hard for a company before in my life. The reviewer broke out the golden knee pads for this one. They basically said it was the greatest game ever made. I think this guy throated everyone at EA. And of course, just like every other big outdated media company, they praised the transgender non-binary stuff in the game. He also said this will set a high bar for all RPGs going forward. This goes for almost all the big media legacy companies. The reviews are just one big giant simp off and who can suck off BioWare the most. But BioWare didn't give reviews to some big YouTubers who were a little critical of the game when they got a chance to demo it a few months ago, like Wolfheart FPS, Luke Stevens, and Fextra. Now Wolfheart and Fextra are some big channels that cover RPGs. These are the channels you want to review your game. They specialize in RPGs. But here's the thing, bigwigs at these companies like BioWare and EA actually get a big bonus when their games get high Metacritic review scores. So it really seems like they were picking and choosing what companies and who at each company would review this game. Didn't give a review copy to anyone that gives the game the slightest bit of criticism. But some big name YouTubers were able to get a review code, like SkillUp and MrMattyPlays, who both gave the game very bad reviews, and they said they would not recommend it. Now I don't know SkillUp's background when it comes to BioWare games, but I do know Mr. Matty is a huge fan of BioWare games, so hearing his review was very disappointing because of all the reviewers for this game, he is the one I would pay attention to the most. First, for SkillUp's review, he started crying like a little bitch, telling people that although he does not like the game, you should definitely check out the mainstream media's reviews. It comes off as, oh geez guys, I didn't like the game, but please don't cancel me. Kind of lost a little bit of respect for him. But it's funny, his review, he talked about how he did not like the things that the mainstream media was praising. He starts off by saying this is a colossal failure for a BioWare game, and even going as far as to say it could be a bigger failure than Anthem, and that game bombed horribly. He called the writing terminal, lacking any kind of nuance, wit, or charisma. The dialogue feels like you could never actually be mean to anybody, like you can't have that renegade feeling as to not, hurt the feelings of the characters in the game. So it all feels just very safe, like when you're talking to your companions, it feels like HR's in the room with you. He even showed a clip of Rook confronting two of the companions having an argument and trying to actually, break up the argument and find some kind of middle ground. But if you listen to the dialogue, it sounds like Rook's talking to freaking 5-year-olds. And it's just so cringe. It's got a lot of Marvel writing. And as far as this game being a dark fantasy, it barely has any dark elements at all. SkillUp said on a scale of 1 to 10 for the amount of dark elements in this game, he gave it a 2 or 3. He said it feels like a really, G-rated adventure. SkillUp also mentioned that the companion quests in this game, which the mainstream media praised, are just boring and repetitive. You just travel to the same locations you've been to before and just fight the same enemies over and over. He also mentioned that the companion quests are poorly implemented into the story of the game. Like you have these two elven gods that are trying to destroy the world, but hey, let's travel to a place we've already been to and go over your past traumas. And as for combat, SkillUp said the combat gets very boring after a while with little enemy variety. All the enemies have the same attack patterns. At one point he said he was a level 10 warrior and was able to take down a level 25 boss just because it was so easy to predict the attack patterns of the enemy. And he beat this boss without even dying once or having a healer in his party. And as for the two main antagonists in the game, he described them as mustache twirling villains that are very, caricature and like generic. Think of the villain from Andromeda. I can't remember what the hell the guy's name was, the main villain. Just how generic and terrible he was. It's kind of like that. All in all, from what I saw from SkillUp's review, this seems like a step backwards and a de-evolution evolution of the Dragon Age series as a whole. And as for Matty's review, his review echoes a lot of the same things Skillup said, and you could tell that he was very let down by this game. He said this is not a Dragon Age game. He said he did not expect the game like Origins, but was expecting something more along the lines of Inquisition, but doesn't even come close to that. He also talked about just how bad the writing is, how terrible the facial animations are. He also talked about how the combat just feels very repetitive and boring. He said your first fight in the game is just like your last fight in the game. The mechanics never change. It's just a slog to get through, and all the enemies are just reskin. This is really sad to hear coming from Matty. As I said, this guy is a hardcore BioWare fan and knows this series like the back of his hand. I don't know, man. These reviews are very decisive so far. If you're still on the fence, I wait a little longer before purchasing the game. For some more people who did not get review codes to see how they like the game, so you don't get that bias. I'll be picking up the game next week when I get my PS5 Pro, and we'll see how it goes. Right now, it doesn't look that great to me, but, you know, I'll play it. I've been waiting 10 years, and we'll see how it goes. But until next time, guys, take care. Bye.